An intrusion is not a moment, it's a sequence. The alert that finally fires on your console at 2 in the morning is almost never the beginning of the story. By the time a seam roll matches, the adversary has already picked the target, built the payload, delivered it, executed it, survived a reboot, and dialed home. 6 things happened before the one thing you saw. The cyber kill chain is the model that makes that sequence visible. And CySA CS0-004 Objective 3.1 asks you to summarize concepts related to attack methodology frameworks. 3 frameworks live under that objective: the cyber kill chain, the diamond model of intrusion analyses, and the MITRE ATT&CK, ATT&CK. This video covers the first one completely, then shows you exactly where the boundary sits between it and the other 2, because that boundary is where the exam questions lie. Hopefully by the end you'll be able to name all 7 phases in order, place real telemetry inside each phase, apply the courses of an action matrix, and explain the model's limitations without hesitating. And for your refresher, I also have a YouTube short, with all 7 phases on a very short bit of it. So after you've watched this and when you're going to refresh and study, trying to remember which is which, if you don't have it all down, you might just want to watch the short for just that part of it, just knowing what each phase is. Now, the cyber kill chain, you want to know where it came from. It was published by Lockheed Martin. One of the reasons you want to know where it came from for the test is because you might see something that says Lockheed Martin, but they don't tell you it's a cyber kill chain, and you're going to need to identify that in the answer. So it was published by Lockheed Martin researchers in 2011 in a paper on intelligence-driven computer network defense. The term itself is borrowed from military targeting doctrine, where a kill chain describes the ordered steps required to engage a target, find it, fix it, track it, target it, engage it, assess it. The insight the authors carried over is the part that matters for you as an analyst. If an operation requires every step in an ordered sequence to succeed, then the defender does not have to be perfect. The defender has to break one link in the chain, interrupt any single phase, and the phases after it can't happen. 3 characteristics define the model, and each one shows up in exam wording. It is linear. The phases run in a fixed order, 1 through 7. It is intrusion-centric. The model describes an external adversary working their way into an environment from outside. It is defender-oriented. The purpose is not to admire the attacker. The purpose is to assign detection and mitigation capability to each phase, so that intelligence gathered from one intrusion hardens you against the next one. That is the intelligence-driven part of the original title. So phase 1 is reconnaissance, and that is target selection and research. The adversary is deciding who to attack and learning enough to make the later phases work. Passive reconnaissance leaves no fingerprints on your infrastructure. Harvesting employee names and job titles from a professional network. Reading job postings that name the exact EDR product and firewall vendor you run. Pulling registration records, certificate transparency logs, and DNS history. Reading conference talks your engineers gave. Active reconnaissance touches you. Port scans, service banner grabbing, web application spidering, credential stuffing probes against a login page. What an analyst can realistically see here is thin, and you should know that going in. Web server logs showing unusual crawling patterns. Spikes and failed authentication from a single autonomous system. Scanning activity and perimeter logs. Alerts from a domain monitoring service when a lookalike domain gets registered. The single highest value detection at this phase is watching for newly registered domains that resemble your own, because that registration is often the first physical artifact of an operation that is not started yet. Phase 2 is weaponization. Weaponization is where the adversary couples an exploit with a payload into a deliverable package, a maliciously crafted document with an embedded macro, a PDF carrying an exploit for a reader vulnerability, a Trojanized installer for legitimate software, a loader that pulls its real payload down after execution, an Office file that abuses a linking feature to fetch a remote template. So here's the part that candidates sometimes struggle with on the exam. Weaponization happens entirely on adversary-controlled infrastructure. You don't have weaponization telemetry. There's nothing to detect in real time because nothing has touched your environment yet. So what do you do with the phase? You work it retrospectively. When a sample lands, you analyze it and pull out the artifacts of construction, the builder toolkit that produced it, the compiler timestamps, the macro obfuscation style, embedded metadata, reuse certificate details. Those artifacts are durable across campaigns, which lets you attribute the next sample faster and write detections for the family rather than the file. Phase 3 is delivery. Delivery is transmission of the weaponized package to the target. This is the first phase where the adversary genuinely reaches into your environment, which makes it the first real interception opportunity. The common vectors: email attachments and links, drive-by compromise from a website that targets already trust, removable media, exposed remote services, supply chain insertion through a software update or a managed provider, and social engineering over voice or messaging. Detection and prevention capability at this phase is dense, and it's exactly what you would inventory in a control gap review. Secure email gateways with attachment detonation, web proxies and DNS filtering, network intrusion detection at the perimeter, user reporting through a fish button, which stays one of the highest signal detection sources in any organization. For the exam, remember the economics. Delivery is the last phase where you can stop an intrusion without incurring any cost of remediation on an endpoint. Everything after this point involves cleaning something up. Phase 4 is exploitation. Exploitation is code execution on the target. Something triggers and the adversary now has a foothold. That trigger takes one of three shapes: a software vulnerability in an application, a browser or a server service, an operating system or configuration weakness such as an unquoted service path or a weak permission, or the human being who opens the file and clicks through the warning, which requires no vulnerability at all. Analyst evidence at this phase is process behavior: a productivity application spawning a command interpreter, script interpreters launching with encoded arguments, unexpected child processes under a browser, memory protection alerts, application crash logs immediately followed by a new process. This is the phase where endpoint detection and response earns its budget. Network controls have already been passed. What remains is behavioral detection on the host, plus the preventive controls that reduce the attack surface in the first place: patching, application allow listing, macro policy, and exploit mitigations at the operating system level. Phase 5 is installation. Installation is persistence. The adversary establishes a presence that survives a reboot, a log-off, or a user closing the document. The mechanisms are a finite list, and knowing them is directly useful in hunting. Run and run once registry keys, scheduled tasks, Windows services, startup folder entries, WMI event subscriptions. On Linux, cron job systemd units and shell profile modifications. Web shells dropped into a public-facing application directory. Malicious accounts created for later use. Detection here is about integrity and change. File integrity monitoring on critical directories. Registry auditing on auto-run locations. Service and scheduled task creation events. Alerting on new local administrator accounts. Baseline comparison, where the entire value is that you knew what normal looked like before the incident started. One exam frame worth holding on to: not every intrusion includes installation. A credential-based attack against a cloud identity may never install anything on an endpoint. The model assumes malware persistence, and that assumption is one of its documented weaknesses. Phase 6, command and control. This is usually written as C2. It's the channel the compromised host opens back to the adversary. The host beacons out, receives instructions, and the operator gains interactive control. Adversaries hide this traffic inside normal traffic: encrypted web sessions to a legitimate-looking domain, DNS tunneling that carries data inside query names, traffic routed through a content delivery network or a cloud provider so the destination looks reputable. Command channels writing on collaboration platforms and social media APIs. Domain generation algorithms that produce a new rendezvous domain every day. What you hunt for is rhythm and shape rather than content. Beaconing at regular intervals with a small jitter. Long-lived connections with tiny consistent payloads. A workstation resolving hundreds of unique domains that no other host in the environment has ever resolved. Outbound traffic during hours the user is not working. Certificate anomalies on encrypted sessions. The C2 phase carries a specific significance in the model. It is the last phase before the adversary acts on their actual goal. Cut the channel here, and the operation stalls with the objective unmet, which is why the original paper treats C2 as the defender's final chance to win cleanly. And Phase 7, Actions on Objectives. This is the phase where the adversary finally does the thing they came to do. Everything before this was setting up to prepare to do this. What that looks like depends entirely on the mission. Data collection and staging into an archive, exfiltration over the C2 channel, or a separate transfer service, encryption for extortion, usually preceded by deliberate destruction of backups and shadow copies, destructive wiping, business email compromise, and fraudulent payment redirection, or simply staying resident and quiet to maintain long-term access. Note the important nuance for a CySA Plus scenario question. Lateral movement and privilege escalation are folded into this phase in the original model, and internal reconnaissance often restarts the entire chain against a new internal target. So an intrusion is realistically a set of nested chains, not one clean line, and the exam may describe an environment where multiple chains are running at once. Detection at this phase is data-centric and identity-centric. Data loss prevention, large or unusual outbound transfers, access to file shares a user has never touched, mass file modification rates that indicate encryption, anomalous privileged authentication, volume shadow copy deletion commands. The 7 phases are only half of the original framework. The other half is the course of action matrix, and this is the part that turns a diagram into an operational plan. Candidates who skip it lose points on scenario questions. For every phase, the defender chooses among 6 actions. Detect, meaning you can see the activity happening. Deny, meaning you prevent the activity entirely. Disrupt, meaning you interrupt it while it's in progress. Degrade, meaning you reduce its effectiveness so it costs the adversary more. Deceive, meaning you mislead the adversary with false information, which is where honeypots and canary tokens fit. Destroy, meaning you render the adversary capability unusable, which for a private organization is almost always a legal and governmental question rather than a technical one. Cross the 6 actions against the 7 phases, and you get a grid of 42 cells. Fill it with the controls you actually own. Every empty cell is a coverage gap that you can hand to leadership with the specific ask attached. And that framing is exactly what Domain 4 expects when it asks you to communicate findings. And be ready to state the model's weaknesses, because the exam objective covers 3 frameworks and the differences are the testable material. The kill chain is perimeter and malware focused. It assumes an outsider coming in with the payload, so it maps poorly onto an insider who already has legitimate access, onto credential theft where nothing is installed, and onto attacks that live entirely inside cloud services. And it is rigid. Real operations skip phases, repeat phases, and run in parallel. And it is coarse. 7 buckets is not enough resolution to describe specific technique-level behavior, which is the gap that ATT&CK exists to fill. And remember the point from the installation phase. Not every intrusion installs anything at all. A model that assumes malware persistence will mislabel a credential-based cloud intrusion if you apply it without judgment. So let's talk about how the 3 frameworks fit together. The cyber kill chain gives you a sequence. It answers how far in the adversary got and where you could have stopped them. MITRE ATT&CK gives you granularity. It is a knowledge base of tactics, techniques, and procedures observed in the real world, organized under tactic categories that are not a required order. Use it to describe precisely what was done and to measure detection coverage technique by technique. The diamond model gives you relationships. Every event has 4 features: adversary, capability, infrastructure, and victim. Pivot from one feature to discover the others, which is how one investigated artifact expands into a full campaign picture. And they are complementary, not competing. Mature teams use the kill chain for phase framing, ATT&CK for technique detail, and the diamond model for analytic pivoting. And a well-written exam question will hint at which lens is being asked for. So we're about at the end of the video. That was 7 phases in order: reconnaissance, weaponization, delivery, exploitation, installation, command and control, also called C2, and actions on objectives. 4 things you want to carry into the exam. First, order matters, and you may be asked to place a described event into the correct phase. Anchor on the verbs. The adversary researches, builds, sends, executes, persists, connects, then acts. Second, weaponization gives you no live telemetry, and delivery is the last no-cost interception point. Third, the courses of action matrix is 6 actions: detect, deny, disrupt, degrade, deceive, destroy. And fourth, when a scenario emphasizes ordered progression, that's the kill chain. When it emphasizes specific technique identifiers and detection coverage, that is attack, ATT and CK. When it emphasizes pivoting between an adversary, their tooling, their infrastructure, and the victim, that is the diamond model. So this video was Objective 3.1's first framework covered end to end. If you found this helpful, please subscribe. It can help me and it can help you to more easily find the next one coming out.